So, this is match review from Wanderlust, and Halifax Wanderers 1, Valor 0, the bog standard 1-0 win on a penalty by Halifax Wanderers, but the scoreline doesn't tell you everything. I mean, it tells you a lot, but it doesn't tell you everything this time. I mean, like, because a lot of people just fought for it in a big way, and we've decided, and it's clear that, at least in terms of a defensive and a midfield shape, we have found a really good one that we could stand to carry for well into next season. Christian Campagna is another one of those players that, like Fernandez, had only been there for a little while, yet you'd think he was there since the beginning in 2018. He solidifies our defense. He already looks a match for Eric Santos, and he starts. If he's fit, he starts along with Jake Ruby and either Mo Omar or Eric Santos in a 3-5-2 kind of thing with Fernandez and Escobar, or Tabby, preferably Escobar, as wingbacks, because that's working for us right now. The cow pasture that the Wanderers' grounds was in the spring, no more. We have our home form in the past 3 games has been 7 for 9. We won against Pacific at home. We won here at home, and we drew against Cavalry at home. We're not the fortress that we used to be yet, but we're getting back to that. If we can get our away form a little better, that'd be sound. Just need to move the Valor thing a little up. There we go. And we've done the double at home against Valor now. And we haven't even done that against York and Edmonton at home. We have yet to determine if we'll do that against Pacific, although they seem to be picking up form. Even in terms of our offense, where we're still having a problem with our end product, the thing is, we did a really good job of keeping the ball in their half. The more often it's in their half, the less often it's in ours. So there are a lot of cases where the best offense is a good defense, or the best defense is a good offense. And Polisi, take a friggin' bow. Campagna, take a friggin' bow. But in defense, Campagna was consistently able to just take the momentum and bring it back to us just out of anything. Same with Polisi in mid. Even in the absence of Jeremy Gagnon-Lapierre, Marcello Polisi has stood up and been counted in a way that makes me feel very good about him being in mid. I mean, I've never had a problem with him, but I'm digging him now in a bigger way now. Sammy fucking Salter, yes, he's a penalty. Yes, he's basically the Canadian Jorginho. He's the penalty guy, but he wasn't. But he also won the thing in the first place and got himself into a situation that drew the penalty at a time when you'd think that where a lot of people would be understood if they just said, why don't people just stop conceding penalties to these? But the thing is, there's a skill to giving them something enough to think about that they're willing to take that chance, or that they end up putting a foot wrong and you get that penalty call anyway. So yeah, if all he did was score the penalty, I don't think I would have been so fawning about him, but it still counts. And the thing is, he got into good positions. So did Amla. Even though, again, Amla needs to open his account and silence the doubters. We're gonna work. No doubt, we're gonna be working on an offensive shape in the off season, and probably in the next 4 games. That's always been the great white whale of the Halifax Wanderers since 2019, since the beginning. I mean, we were sound during the Island games, but that was an outlier. That was kind of a different thing. Yeah, so, yeah, well done, the lads. Yeah, so there were a lot of cases where we created chances, consistently created them. If we could learn to finish some of them, we'd probably be top of the league. We'll see what we can do in the time to come. We let's just end this season on the best note that we can. If we get firing like this against York, even though York have had the best form they've had all season, probably period, we could get back on them. This is a 6-pointer in terms of table position. Because they're our direct table rivals. They're ahead of us by 1 point. 7th is embarrassing. Let's have it right. And if we're 7th, if we lose, if we stay 7th, it won't be because of the York Halifax 2. It would be because of a large number of the previous 24 games. Especially that dry patch and that whole 7-game dry patch in the middle, which was agonizing. It was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. The optimistic thing is that looks like there's a lot here that gives me a reason to believe that that'll be the biggest trouble we have for quite some time. That dry spell that ruined our playoff run. Kieran Baskett. I'm so glad that Kieran Baskett is now the guy that we stick in front. They've wisely identified who's most reliable among the group. Tabby is good cover for Escobar. Escobar should be our primary left back, I think, with Tabby as cover. Fernandez, again, Fernandez just did what Fernandez does. If we had a Fernandez for every position, that would have us done, especially up front. Campagna we've only had Campagna for a little while, but he's looking to be another Fernandez, a Fernandez in center back. And I honestly think that from now on, we'll have a lot easier time avoiding disasters like 0-4 against Forge at home, 0-3 against Forge again at home, 0-2 against Ottawa at home, where the last 25 minutes were painful. 3-0 loss against Cavalry at their place, where there were 10 minutes where they just had the entire freedom of the park. I honestly believe now that we can avoid absolutely getting destroyed. Of course, we're going to lose games. Every team loses games. Atleti loses games. Forge loses games. Cavalry loses games. Arsenal and Manchester City lose games. But we at least stand to keep outright embarrassments to a minimum. And I know I'm talking about like beyond more than this game. This game kind of speaks for itself. A very standard Halifax win, but an amazing Halifax result, but an amazing performance behind it against a team that's been at its best this season and has been firing pretty hard. The second best 5-game form in the league. league right now under York, our next opponents. I mean, the concept of a must-win is a little weird in this case, but I want us to do the best we can, and I want us to, if we can win against York, that's amazing. That'll be great. If I remember correctly, I think they have a couple of important players out suspended. I'll check shortly. Yeah, Valor. I mean, in the last 30 minutes, Valor seemed desperate, increasingly desperate. Especially, I mean, we know that they're an incredibly pacey team. We know that they will want to strike and keep striking to the best of their ability. That's how they've done things. That's how they've handled the bigger teams. But we were able to, like, let them tire themselves out trying to outpace us. And we stayed firm when we were on the defensive. And that's how we managed to... and we also showed adaptation, which we need to show more in the future. And at the point, the pace... I mean, we were able to match we were able not to match the pace of Valor directly, but to make them stretch it to its limits, and eventually they started struggling. They started getting desperate, and while their defense were able to stem the bleeding, they really couldn't do much else. We took out their plan A, and we held our own against their plan B. I'd say that's pretty decent. Anyhow, so let's see what we do against York in 5 days. One game at a time. Until then, this is Wanderlust. Together from a ways, up those wonderful blues. Actually, no, wait. Before I do that, the performance ratings. I'm just going to bring... Excellent. Campagna and Polisi for leading the charge in their portion of the field and being a big fat stop sign for anything trying to get past them most of the time. Good. Baskett for his contributions and goal, and for that one save near the end, which very narrowly avoided an equalizer. It was just shy of the goal line. Ruby and Omar for doing quite well with Campagna. There was one moment I didn't really like from Omar where he noped out of an interception attempt, I guess because he didn't fancy his chances intercepting it, but he made up for it all the way through the games. Fernandez. Sammy fucking Salter for winning the penalty more than simply scoring it. Pardon my Klingon. Amla for keeping the ball over there and therefore keeping it from getting over here while he was around, even though he didn't like score. I'd really love to see him score. He needs his goal. Mwandwe for creating chances out of very little. Yeah. So that's right. 7 good ratings and 2 excellents in a game with a extremely Halifax Wanderers kind of result. Yeah. Now, up those wonderful blues. See you in 5 days. 6 days, because I'll see you a little bit after the York Halifax game. That's all.